Hey guys, Sherm here, and today I'm going to be showing you 7 of the best races out of my 77 sequential races that I did a while back in the Welcome to the Jungle multiplayer season. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Once we hit the 30k mark, I will be uploading a special Q&A that I have done with my girlfriend, so stay tuned for that and enjoy this video. I made a video showing the results of all the races in order, but a lot of you guys wanted to see some of the races in full, and there were actually quite a few good ones. Interspersed in there with all of the not so great ones. I'm sure you guys saw in that video that in many of the races there were just knockdown after knockdown, either me getting knocked down, which happened in like at least half of the races, or me knocking down someone else on accident. It was just crazy. It was slipstream, there was no ghosting. Definitely one of the craziest seasons that I have done, and one that I'm not exactly sure I want to see again. It is cool to see every single car be able to be used. I like that about it, but I hope they do some things such as ghosting in the first 10 seconds like they've done in most of the other seasons, just to make it a little bit more player friendly so you don't get bunches of knockdowns really soon. Because you can even get knocked down in the first 10 seconds in this season. That was probably the worst part about it. So the reason I like this first race so much is because I'm driving probably my least favorite car in the entire game to drive, the Dodge Challenger SRT8. And I actually end up beating this Pininfarina who came in just a few frames behind me. And surprisingly, I didn't get knocked down in any of that. Let me know, guys, do you want to see a full video about the Dodge Challenger SRT8? Because I still haven't done one at 3 stars somehow. The second race, we are in a Mazda Fury. And you know what else made this season even crazier? The fact that you could drive in any car you wanted at any time. You could go in with the Bugatti Chiron in Bronze League. We somehow managed to knock down 2 cars at the beginning of that race, and I think that helped us a bit throughout it because there were, let's see, an FXXK, a Ferrari LaFerrari, an Icona Vulcano Titanium, and just a bunch of cars that normally would be able to beat this one all the time. Because while the Fury is the best D-Class car for multiplayer, against S-Class cars, it's normally not going to do very great. So we have this LaFerrari here who apparently had a bad connection because he kept like glitching ahead of me and behind me and stuff like that. And I knew that sometimes if there's a car ahead of you with a bad connection, even if you technically come in behind him, at least on your screen, the game will still count you as coming in first because he hasn't caught up yet or something. So that was kind of what I was hoping to do here, because I figured there is no way I'm actually going to be able to catch up to a LaFerrari. But somehow he actually did get a bit behind, and thus we come in first place ahead of all of those other cars, including an Apollo as well, one that I forgot to mention earlier, and the Viper ACR. Everybody in this race was at least in a class above me. And now for a race that I consider to be the craziest one of the season, and one of my most mind-blowing races that I have ever done, I would say. I'm in a Ferrari J50 against 3 Corvette Grand Sports, a Corvette ZR1, a Tryon Nemesis, and a Ferrari FXXK. You guys know about the J50. It's a low-end B-Class car. It's not terrible, it's not great either, it's just kind of very mediocre. And I got a track that it isn't especially well suited for, but it's okay, so I was just gonna see, well, I'm going to do what I can. Because once I got into a race, I didn't quit. I finished every race that I played in this season, because I wanted to be able to show you all of my ups and downs in that video, and so that's what I did. We are currently in 6 out of 7 position, and because we took that turn a bit tighter, we were able to pass a Corvette, which we were able to knock down. Somehow did not manage to knock down that Tryon Nemesis. I did kind of relax my stringent no knockdowns on other people rules that I had in previous seasons just because I was literally getting knocked down in pretty much every race in this season. Here, everybody, and I mean everybody in front of me, wrecked at the last second, and I just had this free ride to first place. Like, against a Tryon Nemesis, those 3 Corvette Grand Sports, and there was nobody really close. Everybody was at least 2.5 seconds behind me. I still don't know what exactly happened to them all at the end. That was just a crazy race that I will probably never be able to replicate. This one here, though, is pretty good as well. We get knocked down at the very beginning, as expected. I wasn't even really mad when it happened, just because it happened so often that it was basically, well, what I was expecting at that point. But I was gonna do my best, and we'd already caught up to 6th position. But then, once we land, this Corvette goes and bumps me into the wall, causing me to wreck. there we have one knockdown and one wreck against a bunch of higher cars at this point too. So of course I wasn't expecting to do very well in this race at all. We've got two Grand Sports, a Centenario, a VLF, a Fenner Super Sport, but at least my Viper, while not being especially great in any particular aspect, does at least drift decently and is able to get around the Caribbean tracks without too much of a problem. So I was able to somehow get into 3 out of 8 position, just a bit behind this Corvette here, who I was trying my best to catch up with. Then the VLF ahead of me wrecks. I go up this barrel roll to catch up to this Corvette, go over him somehow, manage to pass this VLF at the very last barrel roll, I think because he 360'd off of it, and come in first, ahead of all those cars, after a knockdown and a wreck. But it doesn't stop there. We are now moving on to some really close races in some S-Class cars. This one with the Icona Vulcano Titanium against primarily a Rimac, but there are also some other S-Class cars on the Caribbean. And while the Icona is pretty well suited to a track like this, it has really good drifting capabilities, it is not the most stable car, which could cause it problems on some of the jumps on this map. As you know, some of them can be kind of unstable. And then the Rimac is also much faster and really good on tracks like this. So he kind of bumps us back there, allowing me to get ahead, and now I just needed to be able to hold him off for the end of the race. Well, being on the Caribbean, you might think that that might not be terribly difficult, considering that with all the turns, the Rimac's probably not going to be able to get much up to its top speed. And, well, you're right. The Icona can actually only go up to around 240 something miles per hour. The Rimac wasn't able to get much beyond that because he is still just right there behind us. However, he does have very good acceleration, better than the Icona, and after nearly catching up, he loses some speed on something, not entirely sure what, but it allows us to take the first place there. That last part on that map is one place where I have so many times been in first, and then this car that's just so much faster that has been behind me for a while, and the rest of the race just suddenly comes barreling past me. I remember that happened especially when I was in some slower car and then the Jesco was coming. He was like a rocket. So this second to last race here is in the Zenvo TS1 and is a really close race against a Rimac again, this time on Shanghai. So the Zenvo is one of those cars that seemed quite well suited to this season. It is quite fast, has good drifting. The only really bad thing about it is its nitro efficiency is not especially long, but because there was slipstream, I was able to catch the slipstream of this Rimac for a lot of the second half of the race and able to keep a lot more speed that way. And that was how I managed to slowly but surely creep up to him, even though that car is faster overall. And speaking of the Rimac, I do plan to make a video about Rimac races during the current Legendary Masters Series 2 multiplayer season, as well as ones with the Sheeran and with the Jesco. I just did one with the Regera, and I plan to do ones with those other ones as well, so stay tuned for those in the near future. I do a bit of wall riding here at the end, which is faster in high top speed cars for the most part, I've found, and managed to pass a Rimac at the very last second to come in first. Now for our final race in the video, which is a very popular one to end it on. Just like the last couple of races, our main competition is a Rimac. They were very popular this season. That is probably due to it being the easiest high-end S-Class car to obtain, especially for newer players to the game who probably didn't get a chance to get the Regera or the Sheeran. And the Rimac is better than those two cars anyway, so after getting a bit turned around at that jump back there, it does that to me half the time. I have yet to figure out how to really avoid it in high top speed cars. The other Rimac falls into the river and then manages to still catch right up to us again. We have a bit of bumping there. Surprised one of us didn't knock down the other actually, and now I am behind him again because of getting a bit slowed down. Now would be the general time when I would give my general review of a car, but since there are many different cars in this season, I guess I'll just give my overall review for the season. It was a crazy one. I liked being able to race in any car that I wanted in a skill-based season, and that was a knockdown back there that I did not plan for, would not have done on purpose, but it was pretty satisfying, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like being able to get knocked down the first 10 seconds, but hey, it turned out okay. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!